Welcome to the Loud Quiet. Ooh, empty nester. Okay. What does that mean?
Yeah, I think that actually probably is the theme of the empty nest. What are we doing? Let's do this. Let's do this thing. I don't know if I'm recording. Yeah. Okay.
Great. Sans children. Just us. We need a tissue box up here. Follow along on our journey and maybe, we can learn from others.
Yeah. I don't have a clue how to be empty nester.
This is the Loud Quiet, Living the Empty Nest.
Hey everyone, welcome back to The Loud Quiet. This is episode 39. We are finally back in our rhythm-ish, but at least we here are recording on a Sunday. The cat is sitting next to us, so it's getting a few doses of normalcy starting to show up.
Yeah. The cat is sitting here, but do you see how he's got his head turned out so that he can see, because Tegan's downstairs making lunch, so he's still trying to pay attention to, okay, they're here, but she's down there, so I need to have ears and maybe eyes on, and that's what, we've noticed since she's been back this week is...
Oh, he's so... I called him a border collie this morning, and it's not exact. He's not hurting us, but he absolutely needs to be in a position, I'm not saying next to you, but he needs to be in a position in the house where he can have eyes or awareness as to where each person is doing. And he knows how to triangulate that, even if we're in different parts of the house.
And if one person is one room and then another person comes in there and they start talking... he's very much, I need to be in there.
So wherever two or more are gathered, that is where the cat will be. He is absolutely social and antisocial at the same time.
Yeah. So we just thought we'd talk about, how our first week has been as empty nester-ish, I guess, is what you would call. I don't know what we're gonna call that this summer.
Empty nesting.
But
filling the
nest.
nest.
It's not. But it's not. It's just temporary. So
temporary housing.
Yeah. I don't know.
We'll figure it out.
But anyways, So, you think everything. Okay, as we got back last Saturday. All the graduations, moving out, you thought like, okay, now we can just breathe for a little bit.
Back to normal.
Yeah. I mean, we know under the circumstances, of your mom passing that things weren't going to be normal, but we thought it wouldn't be as chaotic as it got real right off the bat.
Gosh, right off the bat. And just to acknowledge, because I know folks that are regular listeners, yes, my mom did pass. We are going to talk about that. Heck, I'm still processing it. There is going to be... We may need that tissue box that you talk about in the introduction up here for it, but we're purposely waiting until after my mom's celebration of life on the 3rd of June. And
we wanted to dedicate probably an entire episode just to her life and
our experiences coming out of that, and there's a lot to unpack there that it certainly needs therapy as well. Yeah, it is though. So we're not diminishing it, ignoring it, hiding from it. It's just the timing is not right for this episode for that. So this is still gonna,
and it will be a couple of episodes in the future because we do
want to wait till after that service.
Again, another thing we didn't realize when you're scheduling these things that sometimes it
takes a long time.
The timeline is way different than what you.
My dad was 4 days.
Okay, so there. Okay, I knew your dad's was quick.
And if I maybe plus or minus a day.
Okay.
But 4 days.
Okay, yeah.
4 weeks.
Almost.
Anyway.
Yeah. So
we got one back.
But so, I've been adjusting to having Tegan back. You had to immediately get on a plane Monday and go down to Austin
to start. And
that was some things.
Very smart choice to be able to do that. It's amazing what you can do in person.
Yes.
That along with kid being back, all of that just, you, as much as we spent talking at the beginning of becoming an empty nester, of how do we adjust to becoming an empty nest? What's it going to be like? Well, you know what? We kind of adjusted and got used to our world of being empty nest. And not that I dislike what's happening now, but it's different.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I mean, but if you watch the first episode, I did talk about and got upset that, I was losing my little, buddy that, we did and spent a lot of time together. And so I think you were a little when you were like, well, I have to leave on Monday. And, she and I were like, okay. She had gone out with friends during the day and they were thinking about getting back together, but then that fell through. So she was like, Mom, let's watch Trolls 3. And I was like, okay. Not a huge Trolls fan, but it was really good. This one was very much geared towards my age group because it was all the boy band references and getting the boy band back together. So it was fun. We had our snacks that she had bought from the market before she left school. And so, we had all of our, snacks out. It was like, circa when I was 13. And,
Did you have a sleepover?
Yeah, so we did not sleep in the same bed, although we have done that before, but no. So we just enjoyed. We had a good time watching that. And, she got to bring me into another, one of her movies that she really enjoys. So it was fun.
I think that's something that is fun with kids. You started to allude to, I want to go back to, I did. There's jealousy, not capital J, jealousy, anger. But I'm eager to reconnect with her being back too, that sort of thing. But before I talk about that, it's really fun when our kids show us the things that they care about and pull us into. And some of that happens when they're not here, but it's kind of fun when they're around because she could have told you 1,000 times, hey, Trolls 3 is great, Mom. Yeah. You're still not going to go watch it.
Right.
But when she's here saying, hey, let's go spend time together, eating our snacks, eating our gummy worms or whatever it was that y'all had, you're going to do it.
Yeah. And it was actually nice for me because you were gone and this trip was a little more intense than, some of your other trips have been. And so I knew I wouldn't really be talking to you much about what was going on. And so it was nice to have someone else in the house besides Miso that I could actually, talk to and do things with. And then, she's trying to get ready to start her job. And we'll talk about their jobs in a second. But so on Tuesday we went shopping, we went to Target, always have to go to Target. And, we just did some other things like that where, again, we just got to, spend time together. Yeah. So, you got back late Tuesday night and, you were even, I can't talk about anything tonight, but we'll talk.
We just all kind of, we certainly hung out a little bit there, even when I got back, which was
nice. Because it was late, and she and I were still up downstairs on the couch, and so
There's another thing that's different about having your kids home in a situation like that. There's no way when that flight gets back that you aren't already in bed, kind of drifting a bit, maybe watching the show, those sorts of things. But it was, like I said, not jealousy or whatever. In that vein, though, what is enjoyable about having your kid return is doing some of the things that you enjoyed before. So you laughed about, it's always Target, right? Well, that's something that is about who she is. And so that's kind of fun to be a part of. I've already said to Tegan, hey, we got to do our ramen lunch. Yeah. Right. We got to knock that out. there's so many things that are
she
enjoyable.
Again has her list of restaurants like we did, and they're all the same ones that we did before she left. And she,
it's Wynn's Kitchen Master. I think we'll wait for Jing Ching when Tanner gets back.
That one's not her favorite. That's his, but yeah.
Well, that's why I bring him back. Well, yeah, you know what? I guess I'm just doing this for me. Yeah. I'm just being selfish. I want to go get the dumplings there.
But yeah, so that was good, and like I said, you were pretty wiped when you got back, and rightfully so. But it's just now, then we've moved in again to logistics and like planning for everyone to get where they need to be, and some planning is still kind of up in the air because of jobs and schedules and that kind of thing,
and it's the kids that are influencing that, right?
Yeah, that's and I are like, we can go whenever now.
Our schedule, and that, it's how quickly when the kids are reintroduced. And you know what, even if it weren't summer, if my mom had passed and we were having a ceremony during school, it would have even been more complicated.
I don't
with
know.
logistics.
I think school would have been easier because they have a set. Their schedule does not change.
Okay, all right.
From
I got that. Yeah, that
we
makes
don't
sense.
know what Tegan's schedule is going to look like working.
Good point.
So
Yeah.
with school, I think it would have almost been
You would have known
easier.
already.
You could, yes.
There might have
but-
been more hoops to jump through, but you would have at least known
but-
the hoops that were requiring a jump.
Yeah. But, and you think, oh, summer. Okay. But when you're starting a brand new job, you don't want to be like, and I need 5 days off for this and
Right.
2 days off for this.
Right.
And so, but yeah, so we, they both are, Tanner stayed out there to work. She got a job, started looking a month before she left out there and landed a job. So I put up there, we have one who's doing inside sales, which
I'm going to talk about that a little bit, but
Yeah.
let's just
Yeah.
let's focus on the
then,
picture.
And then, so he sent us a picture with his headset on, and then Tegan's in her movie theater Cinemark outfit. So,
Which I loved seeing. I really enjoyed seeing her come down wearing that.
and I do, because I told her, I said, I'm taking a picture of you because when Tanner was 14, I have his first picture in his ref uniform. So I took it in the same place where I took Tanner's because this is her first job. She hasn't.
Her first paid job. Yep.
Yeah, she was not able to hold a paying job all through high school because of drill team. That was a job in of itself. And I don't know how the girls that did it because the schedule was insane. So,
And that was a key part of I think her success in interviewing, certainly success in some of the essays she's written and the like, when it comes to essays about work, and that's why I kind of stopped at this is her first paid job because drill team, while it is an activity of fine art, it's a class, whatever you want to call it, it was to a responsibility level a job. And so when she describes what she did there, it's pretty easy for a Cinemark manager to say, yeah, you're hired.
and
Come on in.
and that is one thing. Every time she'd text us and be like, I don't have anything to put for job experience. And then she kind of got into where she could talk about how her experiences with drill team, and even from a customer service area, she knew how to take those experiences and make them into, I can do this because I've done this for the past,
She'll
4
have
years,
to.
so.
She had to, and will continue to have to guide people through that translation. But the time management associated with the RETs is by far more than I would submit almost any part-time job that exists, and certainly from a time of day perspective, unless you were working in, say, the healthcare industry or a bakery.
She's worked every shift available, like, up when it's dark, home when it's dark. So
No concerns there. And then time management, discipline, and as you point out, the customer service aspect, right? She had to be upfront. She was not certainly literally on stage, but there were also elements where they were in the community. They were the representatives, and that's what she'll be here. And yes, there will also be times that she's sweeping up Coke and popcorn off the ground, yet she is still the representative of the brand to the customer.
she's a hero, Rick. That's what they call them there. They're heroes.
I know people at Cinemark. I'm just going to keep my comments to myself.
So, but she's so excited. I mean,
I do like the
she's
brand.
really, that's where we go see all of our movies.
Yeah.
But she's super excited about having her first job and it being at the theater. She enjoys movies. So,
What was the first question that she gets asked? Not, hey, when do you start?
Yeah.
What's it like there? What is every single person, family or friends, what have they asked her?
Yeah. Do I get in free? What do I get?
Tegan, what's the friends and family discount? That is the question.
And you know what? We didn't even ask her
No!
that. It was her brother, my parents, neighbors. I mean,
When we went, I'm sure
Her
we'll mention the
friends.
graduation party, that was the question she was getting asked.
Yes,
So,
yes. So that's her deal. And then what did you want to say about it?
So I wow. I'm not usually one that doesn't have words. I'm so glad that he's doing it, right? This is going to be a phenomenal experience. But if you want to talk about a job that I think I would hate the most, and the job that when this person calls me, I hate that person the most, right?
I don't answer the phone.
He is cold calling, but it's a business to business before anybody thinks, oh my gosh, he's calling to scam elderly people. No. This is actual lending for farm equipment. There's kind of a business to business aspect of it. So it's a little different than what you might be thinking when you hear me say that. Yet it's still inside sales. He dialed, I'm going to get the number kind of wrong, but 225 outbound calls on his first day of work. 100 of those went to voicemail.
Yeah, but when he told us that, 100 of them went to voicemail. I was like, yeah, but there were still 125 people that answered the phone.
How are there more than 50% of the people you called that picked up the phone? All right, anyway. Sorry, Tanner, we love what you're doing. Yeah. Well, we love that you are doing this. That may be the way to say it.
He's just grinding
just
to make some cash. And, you know, and Tegan, the same thing. They're just, you know, they're doing this for their fun money. You know, they are fortunate enough that, you know, I know there's plenty of children out there that have to work to put themselves through school. You know, our kids are fortunate enough
they're a mixture of savings and scholarships there. They're well equipped, both with what they did and with the savings that was in place. So that's what they're doing, you know, for parts of their summer, you know, and meanwhile, we're over here trying to, we'd like to plan a vacation, but you know, when are we going to put that in there with, but yeah, we will, but, I'm just glad. And Tegan's very glad that she has something to do this summer. You know, she's already filled this week, gym, friends, you know, but she is looking forward to having, that's the child that loves a schedule. And so that's one thing that I was really glad that we didn't tell her to do this. She started it on her own.
Yeah.
I knew before we got into that phase, I knew that I was going to have that conversation with her. No, you're not just sitting around. Well, I didn't even have to have that conversation, but no, maybe there can be some sitting around between your graduation, high school, and freshman. And she did some things, but you know, she did her things. But when you come home from your freshman year, no.
Well,
you need to be doing something.
She and I actually talked about that in the car when we were going to Target or something. She said, you know, last summer was still so busy with trying to get ready to go. And so, we
no concern with it last year.
And again, that's not her personality. She is not a sit around kind of person. So she would have gone crazy this summer if she didn't have something to do.
And we would have helped her become crazy.
Why are you here? Yeah. This is again.
We're recording.
This is my house between the hours of this and this.
Yeah, you kicked me out when I started an independent consulting company. Lord knows the kids don't get to have your house during the day too. Yeah.
When I get the text of, I think I'm going to come home. I have a meeting at 11. I may, and I'll be home maybe 1. I'm like, I just got home and. I did not get to have ample enough of me time in the house.
I leave you alone when I come home during those days. Heck, half the time I'm either doing my own stuff, work in the study, or I just go play Zelda upstairs. You wouldn't even know I was here. So different conversation about what it means to live empty nest life together, apparently.
But it has been, it was a nice week. And now I know she's ready and she's about to have her orientation and get started. So, but it was, you know, like, Friday night, you know, which before it was you and me. Where do you want to go? What happy hour do we want to go to? What, you know, but this time it was, you know, she was included with us. And so
not only included, she drove the agenda Friday evening. Yeah. Because it was, let's start with, she was buying the bag that she needs to have with her to work at Cinemark.
Her tote bag, yes. Mm-hmm.
This would have been part of it, but I went ahead of time on Friday to go pick up the clothes that she has to wear as a part of the dress code for that, and to buy the shoes that she has to wear. So that was what our Friday was, and then she picked the restaurant, which we had no disagreement with eating at Mario's, right? So
but it was fun. It's nice to. I enjoy having her back, and you know, she's still. Our room is always the gathering place, so she still comes in there and lays on the floor, and then Miso wanders in and messes around with her, and then
was that Friday? I think it was Friday that I was laying on the bed, she's on the floor, Miso's whatever day that was, and you're sitting in the chair. It feels I'll finish the sentence. It feels good. I like having her back. I'm going to like having him back. I also know that it does interrupt elements of our lifestyle. We're happy with that interruption. Or let's use the word tolerant of that interruption because it's nice. It just, I got used to empty nesting.
Yeah.
And it's...
I think it's probably also been good with the events that have happened that it's not just you and me sitting here talking about, because you and me have had a lot of deep, heavy conversations. So it is kind of nice to have her levity to just like make it, it's just fun too in the house.
Instead of talking about estates and probates and executors and trustees and yada yada, we can talk about Cinemark popcorn.
Yeah. And again, I do, taking from, and if you've been listening to our podcast or watching us, y'all know that we are both very sarcastic. We enjoy humor. That is a bond between us. And, we watched Jerry Seinfeld's Duke commencement speech this week. And if you have a chance to pull it up on YouTube, it's really good. And,
I'll include a link to it in our show notes.
Yeah,
so if you're listening to this or watching it, it's in the show notes. This was worth it.
And one of his biggest points to the kids were, do not lose your sense of humor.
Absolutely.
Things are going to be crappy. And we have just gone through a crappy event amidst some great celebrations. But, we deal with it
through humor.
Yeah. And
sometimes we're like, I don't know if somebody should have heard us say that. It's not too far for us.
And so luckily not everyone hears what we say.
That's right. But maybe that's why the family ostracized us to Frisco. You can't be in Austin.
Your sister deals with it. Humor too,
and
her husband, but yeah. So I really appreciated his speech bringing that point into it, because it's so true. If you can't laugh in the midst of anger, grief, devastation, whatever, you don't. How do you deal with it? Right. I don't know how people deal with stuff. So. But so it's just been, again, it was a good week getting reacclimated. We had a high school graduation party that we went to of our sweet neighbor, that she is the last one of the Crazel Green kids.
And for those that don't know, we live on Hazel Green, but there were a lot. When you live on a place since 2007, there's a lot of things that happen. And so we came to realize this really should be called Crazel Green. And so,
it has definitely shifted. We've not had anything in a long time.
There's no alcohol, tobacco, and firearms raid on a house across the street.
I think we've talked about that in here before.
If we haven't, let us know. We'll talk about that one.
Because I think when we had Ibby and Jim on, we talked about it. But, there have been some events. And so, but Lexi was the last of the
And I don't know if I'm sure we did mention that somewhere along the way with someone.
Yes, but there's stair-stepped.
This is stair-stepped and has been for several years now. So for this to be the last one, I keep bringing it up of, that building down the street that used to be meaningful to all of us, Lone Star High School, now it's just a building we drive through. No one on our street of our relationships have any tie to that building that just causes us to slow down during school season.
I know. Summer now, though.
I know.
But
Clancy's ripping through there now at full speed.
That was fun getting to see the last one go to her grad party.
She's so happy.
Oh,
it was so bubbly.
Lexi's always happy.
And just being, I think it was fun to celebrate her. And today, as we're recording it, they finished graduation. Yeah. And so that was fun and rounded out our week. And but again, of course, while we're at the party, we get a phone call from Tanner. Okay, so now, we already had everything planned for him to get to and from the service. Yeah. And he, called, oh, well, we have a meet and greet SMU new law students on that Friday. So I think I'm just going to stay in Dallas the whole week. And so can y'all switch me to another flight going back? So, I mean... I do. The kids will always throw us a logistics. Yeah. So here's a tip. And one of these days, we're actually going to do an episode of just simple top X tips for empty nest travel. Earn up enough points, save them for your kids' travel, not for your own, because, we could just cancel it for free. We could move it for free.
Yeah.
We could. So because we booked all these with points, we were able to do all that.
Yeah.
And yes, I know there's no change fees and yada, yada, but we could just refund it was back. So there's a little tip for you of save your points and use them on your kids because they're going to do things like this to you all the time.
So now he will be home, which is good. And we just got off the phone with him actually, and we were talking. Rick and I had already said, "Oh, great,
we
can go find apartments. We can look at cars. We can
for him to go to SMU Law.
Yes.
If you are the first time listener, he's now going to be attending SMU Law, which is just effectively down the road from us, 20 minutes away. So,
So when we talked to him, I said, "Okay, look, here's the list of things," because he was about to go and do something. I said, "Okay, we got your flight situated." Dad and I think it would be good to go look at a price. Like, oh yeah, that's why I want to stay the whole week. So he had already put it in his.
Which
I was like, good, you're planning.
Well, you know what? I think there's a lesson for us in that too, and that is, he is not just an adult, but a solid adult at this point. He's going to law school. While we may be worried that he's not doing things at a certain pace, the reality is. One, he's responsible for it. So end of message, he's responsible for it. He screws up, then he can live under a bridge. That's his problem. The second is he's going to take care of it. And that's something that as we continue to evolve and grow as empty nest parents, because you never stop being a parent, it's the realization that, they got it. Tone down the worry. And I don't mean capital W worry here. Just they got it.
It's not.
They got it.
It's not. And I'm sure I will get there eventually.
Well, I wasn't directing that at you.
I know, but I tend to be the one that, look, this is not done. This is not, and it'll be fine. Well, okay, but having places to live, watching as much as them going through college as it took us to find them places to live and get all that settled.
Yeah.
I just like everyone to be settled, because then it's just another thing to take off of the, and Tanner is a lot like you, that it'll all work out and be fine. But Tegan is like me. We like to have our ducks in a row. We like to be,
I like my ducks in a row. He and I are very similar, that we have a confidence it'll work out in the end. I just like to get it done way before he does. I just have confidence in what the end result is. I'm more like y'all when it comes to get it planned.
And I think, I've already learned that, okay, there is no SMU Law Parents page on Facebook, which I will say.
Are you about to create it?
No. Heavens, no. I don't want to go through what those people on the other Facebook pages that I'm on. I will say I learned a great deal of good information on there, but then there's a lot of junk and people, trying to find their kids' friends and trying to,
You're talking about, just to say it out loud,
on the college,
undergraduate
ones,
university mom's page, ASU or
so
U of A.
yes, so I did get a lot of good information, but there was a lot of just.
Oh, I'll say there was definitely some things that wound you up just because of what was on there.
Yeah.
Had you not had access to it, it wouldn't have wound you up.
But so that, that's already the first step of, I don't have my foot in everything. And again, we've already talked about this, but how we don't get any emails about anything. I know nothing about, Tanner, we do need to know where to pay your tuition and when, because.
And SMU would say, no, you don't. He needs to know where it is.
Okay, but he does not have the money.
No, I get that. It's his responsibility.
Yeah.
That's what they would
I
say.
know. But,
Yeah.
Here's
what we need to do. We need to recognize he's going to handle it all, and we just need to have chips and quesadilla nearby and buy him a beer when he swings by. We can just do that.
All
yes?
Right.
I had you chips and queso.
So anyway, but I am glad that he's going to be here for, the whole week. And I said at the beginning, look, I know you want to see all your friends. That's fine. But you do have to carve out some time for, and he was like, oh yeah. He said, no, I know. He said,
you kind of bribed him too with, hey, look, we know you can't pack everything. So we're just going to go shopping when you get back, AKA time.
And then when I said, and you don't even have a big suitcase out there, he's like, oh, yeah. Like,
He was worried about
you're going to bring it all, put it in IKEA bags? No. So anyways, so yeah. But so, we did just jump right back into maybe next week will be, well, no, because we're going to Austin, but maybe July, the second week of July will be,
can be what?
Calm and not having to figure out flights. And
I'm going to go ahead and tell you, don't even assume that until September 15th.
Yeah.
A month after they go back. And then we'll probably be heading out to Arizona anyway.
Yeah, so.
Now, we never stop being parents, though. It will
well,
always,
obviously, this whole, yeah.
it will always continue on.
Yes, because that's our text. We're back to a text of last week. We had so many pictures that I didn't put a text in. This week we don't have as many. But yes, this text is from Tanner, and this is what they're going to go do today. He said a few of us are going Salt River tubing this Sunday. Going to be a crispy 101. So now I will say, I thought about this, but I didn't text it back. You texted back.
And what did I say? That will be fun, but please wear sunscreen. So we never stop.
Yeah, and today even on the phone, they were getting all their plans finalized and getting ready to go. And I said, okay, look, tip from a tuber. I said, go get some Vaseline, or do you have Aquaphor or something at home, and plaster it on the inside of your arms because you get rubbed raw. And he was like, oh, yeah. He's like, thanks, Mom. So
I didn't get a thanks, Dad, on this one. I think
he was probably like, oh, this one he's like, I know, I work outside. I know to wear sunscreen.
But the Aquaphor is a good. So there, two tips, one episode, 2 tips. Use points and wear Aquaphor when you tube.
Vaseline, yeah. So there you go. For all of you who are planning on tubing in the next,
or if you're flying or tubing, here you go. So, oh my goodness. Well, so, yeah. It's back to normal, but it's not normal, and you know what? Maybe that is normal.
Yeah.
We'll just roll with it. Well, that's all
fun. That's all you can do.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it was fun to do another episode of The Loud Quiet, Living the Empty Nest.